Welcome back to WCCP1 News in the Morning. I'm Sabina Schaefer with Foreign Affairs. We're now going to talk about what's going on in Syria. My colleague Kazra Jalali is here with some background on the situation. Over to you, Kazra.
Thanks, Sabina. As you all know, the Assad regime began when Hafez al-Assad took over in 1971 after a military coup. Even during his reign, there was a considerable amount of opposition to the government. Most notably in 1982, when there was a Sunni rebellion in which it put down and destroyed the city of Hama while doing so. The Syria's ethnic makeup is 74% Sunni, 10% Christian, 13% Alawite and Shiite, and 3% Druze. All the people besides the Sunni support Assad for different reasons. The Druze and Christians because they fear for their lives because the Sunni have threatened to kill them. Whereas the Alawite and Shiite support him because they basically run the government and country. On March 15, 2011, a large number of protesters started Syria's revolution, demanding Assad's resignation. Similar to the conflicts in other neighboring countries, these protests led to high death tolls amounting to an estimated 19,000 deaths by August of 2012. Back to you, Sabina.
Yes, that's right. Although a few other countries were successful in their fight for freedom. The harsh truth is that the Syrian uprising has turned into a massive civil war. I remember the very beginning of the whole uprising in Syria began with just 14 high school students who wrote, "The people want the downfall of the regime" on their school. It has been a long ride since then, escalating into full civil war reaching both Damascus and Aleppo. We can only hope that the international community finds a resolution to stop this civil war. Let's talk a bit more about the current situation in Syria.
At the time when Assad refused to resign but promised reforms, he ended the state of emergency and offered a multi-party election. The Arab League requested an end to the violence and Assad declined, which led to economic sanctions against Syria. Now it seems that the end is not in sight and Assad has plans to keep resisting, and the people are not giving up. This will most likely end in a disaster for Syrian society.
Now, the U.S. did agree to train some rebel forces, but other than that, not much has been done. We have not given them any weapons because the Al-Qaeda have been involved with some of the rebel forces, their ultimate goal being to obtain power in Syria.
Just why it's such a difficult problem to solve. If we give the rebels guns, we could potentially be giving guns to Al-Qaeda, Hamas, and Taliban, and any of the radical groups that have potentially infiltrated the rebel forces. These radical groups may essentially take over Syria and use it as a launching pad to infiltrate into Jordan, Lebanon, and Saudi Arabia, thus further destabilizing and radicalizing the region. Moreover, some of the radical Sunni groups affiliated with Al-Qaeda have also vowed to massacre the minorities in Syria.
So in your opinion, what is the best way to solve the problem?
The current regime is not able to win the war, but has been able to continue the civil war with the support of foreign powers such as Iran and Russia. On the other hand, it is not in anyone's best interest to allow the Sunni radical groups to win the war either. Therefore, the only viable option is to have a political one in order to avoid a potential genocide, as well as to avoid further radicalization of the region. The ideal outcome is to have all the sides sit down and agree to a power-sharing agreement and to have a real multi-party election, as was done in Iraq. But this would be difficult considering it means bringing radicals together.
Well, thank you for joining us today, and thank you, Kazra. I'm Sabina Schaefer.
And I'm Kazra Jalali.
Stay tuned for more WCCP1 in the Morning when we come back.